You guys are so dreamy. I love you so much. Hi guys, my name's Priya. For anyone not familiar with the name, it's actually Welsh. It means the only one of my friends that doesn't have to wear factor 50. I'm joking, it's Indian. My mum's very Indian, my dad's very Welsh. It's a weird combination. No one really knows how it happened, but I'm here. I've got this accent, and I'm having a good time. I've got a weird mum. I know my mum's weird because too many people have met her and then immediately afterwards asked me how I ended up so normal. It's not a good sign, is it? Shouldn't be a surprise to people when you're emotionally stable. That's something's gone wrong. My mum thinks she's cool. I think she's very much a problem to be dealt with in therapy when I can afford it. She thinks she's cool. When I was 17 years old, at my 17th birthday party, my mum drank absinthe with all of my friends. Is that cool? Or is it a red flag? She likes to keep people on their toes, but when I say people, I do, of course, mean social services. My mum is so weird that she once wrote the words, "You're like a daughter to me," on my birthday card. I'm your only daughter. That's very rude, actually. I lived with my mum briefly after uni. I say briefly because it was madness from start to finish. Like, she was so weird that my hair started falling out. She'd be like, "I tried to be a lesbian once," and my hair would be like, "No, I'm off." I feel like she knows that's not how it works. I'm off. It was a really weird time for me as well. I was just out of uni, working 3 jobs. I'd come home from 14-hour shifts, and I'd find notes from my mum all over the house. And I kept them all as evidence for the inevitable trial. And if you guys would like to hear it, I'd like to read you my favourite note. Okay. Just for context, while I was living with my mum, I adopted a cat because I'm a saint. No, please, hold your applause. I adopted a cat, and my mum and this cat took an immediate disliking to each other, so all of the notes were about him and his behaviour. So bearing that in mind, are we excited to hear the note? I don't want to hype it up too much, but it did cure my depression, so make of that what you will. Okay. Pri, your stupid cat is not to be let out of its room, or otherwise I'm leaving. She's threatening to leave her own home here, so I don't know what the plan was. And also, he didn't have his own room at the time, but he does now, because I'm very much a parody of myself. He is a bastard who will be dead soon, as I will kill him. That escalated very quickly. This is the point in the note where people start getting worried for the cat. Don't worry, he's fine, he survived. We call him the boy who lived. Harry Potter fans will note that that makes my mum Voldemort, and I stand by that. Should we find out what he did to make her so irate? The fat prick ate a whole packet of crumpets. I hope he drops dead. P.S. There are more crumpets in the kitchen in case you're hungry when you get in. Love, Mum. I shouldn't make fun of my mum. My mum's a really impressive person. My mum was the first person in her family to marry outside of the Indian community, which was quite a big deal at the time. She likes to call herself a trailblazer, but unfortunately the trail she blazed led directly to white men, which historically for people of colour has not been ideal. And if you think that's a risky joke, try doing it in a ski club in Plymouth. No, they didn't like it. I'm quite ethnically ambiguous, so a lot of people will be like, "Where are you from? Like, where are your parents from? From whence do you hail? Like, should I be afraid of you or no?" Kids, you don't have to bother with that. They're just like, "What are you brown for?" And you're like, "Oh, okay, fair enough." Let's dance, little Timmy. I've got a little sister. She's 15 years younger than me. She's my half-sister on my dad's side. And when she was 7 years old, she asked me if I was Japanese. In front of my Indian mum. No one had ever explained the concept of race to her, so she was just going to take a punt. Respect that. I was the only ethnic minority in my school for quite some time, which sounds terrible, but was actually great. Do you know what it means to be the only ethnic minority in your school? It meant I was untouchable. Literally, the teachers would be like, "You stay away from her, we need it for the posters." The valleys are changing, though. They're getting much better. My mum told me last year that she joined a diversity group in the valleys. To Get what I mean when I say diversity group? Like a black minority ethnic group. She told me she'd joined this group and I was so impressed. I was like, Mum, that is amazing. What do you guys do? Do you get together and talk about your shared experiences of raising children in an area that's essentially quite hostile to you being there? And she was like, no. Because of the membership of the group, there's not really much room for that conversation. So what we do is we meet at 11:30 on a Tuesday morning in a Wetherspoons. And we get hammered. Just typical diversity group stuff, guys. So I asked my mum who exactly is in her diversity group. Turns out my mum is the only ethnic minority in her diversity group. It's just her and a bunch of white ladies getting day drunk at a spoons. Frankly, it does sound like a laugh and I'd like to join. One of those old ladies is my nan. She's my dad's mother, but my mum won her in the divorce, so we got to keep her. They hang out all the time, which I think is a really baller move on my mum's part. They've been divorced for a very long time. My nan is 84 years old, and she's pro-legalization of drugs because, and this is a direct quote, I'd really like to try speed again. So, excuse me? I don't know if you guys know this was a thing. It was really easy to get speed off GPs in the 50s. All you'd have to do is go in and be like, I'm a bit tired. And they'd be like, oh, I've got just the thing for you. Don't worry about it. And my nan was just kicking about on these in the 50s. And I was like, Nan, that sounds really dangerous. You had 3 kids to look after and you were on this medication. That sounds really, really dangerous. And she was like, Pri, no. It was amazing. You could get all of your housework done in an hour. And then you had the rest of the day to yourself. And you were on speed. You guys have been absolutely lovely. I've been Priya Hall. Good night.